What's up, fam? Welcome back to the LYFE podcast. This is a very special episode. I have not done a Producer's Den episode in well over a year, so I wanted to give a quick analysis of what these are about. For the Producer Den episodes, I sit down with music producers or DJs. We discuss some of their ups and downs, how they got started, some of the things they're struggling with, and what they're doing to better their brand as a whole. We as well, of course, dive into how they live themselves for every day too. So it gives a little more insight on the person behind the music or behind the DJ you see on stage. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this episode of the LYFE podcast. I'm hoping to bring you more Producers Den episodes this year. Peace. Cheyenne, welcome to the podcast. How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
It's been awesome. We've had quite a day so far. We've had brunch, we've had coffee, we've had more coffee. We're ready to go. How's it been here in Tampa so far?
It's been incredible. I've been to Tampa once before, last year at TK Lounge in February, and it was an awesome experience. Every time I come to Florida, it's just the best experience.
Yeah.
I love the food. The weather's nice. The people are nice. The crowd is always really into it and really hyped. So I love coming to Florida.
The Florida crowds have been on point recently.
Yeah.
They've been getting better and better. The scene here has been starting to explode a bit more venues and more artists coming to town. It's been exciting as a Tampa native and someone who has come back to Tampa, that there's always something going on EDM-wise here now, which is very exciting. Because it used to not be that way.
I believe
and
it,
it's very exciting to see that the scene go. You're very spoiled in Denver.
Yeah.
Where you get stuff happening all the time, every day of the week almost, it seems. And I think the rest of the country looks at that and is always jealous. But I don't know, it's starting. Tampa's coming up. We're coming up a little bit more.
I agree 100%. I didn't know what to expect when I first played in Florida last year. So I played 2 shows, one in Fort Lauderdale, one in Tampa. Then I came back last night to play with Vrecno at the Ritz. So I never knew what to really expect because I'd never been to Florida before. And I was like, the Florida kids turn up. They go just as hard as Denver. So I think Florida's definitely on the rise, definitely come up, especially with festivals like Forbidden Kingdom.
Yeah. Forbidden Kingdom's helped a lot, especially with the bass aspect of it. Now, if they could just not have it in the summer, that'd be great. Yeah. Because it is brutally hot.
Oh,
you were talking about the humidity here.
It's so much.
Right now, and today it's beginning of March, but the summer when they do it in June and July, it is brutal. Now, they've done a great job, I will say, of getting the proper, water stations, cooling stations, shade structures, all that stuff. They've done a great job. They even did a better job this year. They really listened, which I love when festivals understand and take into
the
account
feedback.
What people are saying. And that was the main feedback, was middle of summer, we need shade, we need all that, and they did a great job. If they could do more, which they can't control the weather, they can't control the humidity. I'm sorry, but it gets brutal. It just gets brutal out there.
That's how it is at Bonnaroo. I don't know if you've ever been to Bonnaroo or heard of it. It's in Tennessee. Yeah. Have you ever heard of Bonnaroo?
I have not gone.
It's incredible.
I know I need to go.
But it's so hot, it's sickening.
That's all I've heard from it.
Over 100 degree. Well, I've heard that about Wakan Fest too, because I think it's in Arkansas that's just brutally hot. But I went to Bonnaroo in 2013. It's a really long time ago, and it's one of my favorite festivals I've ever been to. But the heat is just absolutely brutal.
I had done Okeechobee for the first time last year, and it was Florida heat, South Florida heat, like we were talking about with Fort Lauderdale earlier.
Yeah. Just
brutal. And I remember thinking, we're sitting under the shade thing, we've got fans going, I've got, I'm in my bathing suit and shirts off, and I remember thinking, it just made me rethink going to festivals in the heat. I was like, this is so brutal. Yeah. And it was only March. March 25th. And I remember just being like, I don't know if I could do camping festivals anymore. And then granted, of course, then the winter comes around and I go to Lost Lands or something, and it's cool, and I'm wearing a hoodie. I'm loving it.
It gets cold at night at Lost Lands.
I love that though.
Yeah.
I love that.
I would prefer that.
Nothing more I love than being comfy at a festival. And when it's fall, nighttime, winter, I can go back to my campsite, put on a pair of nice sweats, put on a hoodie, and then put my jersey over the hoodie, and I got my hood up over my hat.
Little blankie
blanket
action.
Maybe. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. And the beanie, you're repping the beanie right now.
Always.
I'm a big beanie guy.
I'm a beanie girl.
Love it.
More recently, I used to think they look stupid, and now I'm like, they just look the best on me.
It's the best hat.
Because I used to wear hats like yours.
Yeah.
I look all right, but the beanie, I'm like, besides the bandana, I'm like, this is just my thing.
We would have planned it better. I would have worn my LYFE beanie. I didn't even think about it until now.
Next
my
time,
goodness.
Next time we could be
for
twinning for sure.
Yeah, I love a good beanie. Something
so weird to me, but I will go when I'm like traveling. You know, people get like shot glasses and stuff.
Yeah.
I get a beanie.
Really?
I love. I don't know what it is about them. I live in Florida. I can never wear them.
Right.
But like, I just love the beanie. I
They
just
go with
love
any
them.
outfit.
They do. Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
the baseball cap's not the right vibe.
No.
It's not. It
no.
depends.
I always. It's funny is those the flat brim hats.
Mm-hmm.
I used to love those growing up, and then now, unless it fits me, I just look dumb in it. Like it, especially when people.
I look dumb in them too. Trust me. Yeah.
And not to talk bad on people, but when people wear them, where they're like up, like.
I know. I saw somebody with that on at the
doing?
Ritz last night. If I had a baseball cap, I would do it. But you just did it where it was like a 90-degree angle like this.
Yeah, and it sits, and it's not only the angle down.
That's what I'm like. How can you see?
It's somewhere where it sits up, and it looks like they have an extra head on top of their head.
That's how that guy was wearing it last night. I was like, "What's the deal right now?"
Yeah, I don't understand how that became a thing.
I don't know.
To each his own. Again,
Yeah.
do your thing. I don't want to look stupid, so
No.
I'm not doing it.
No.
That's my one hard stance for the day.
Yeah.
I won't wear my hat like that. Absolutely.
No, me
Looks
neither.
dumb.
It's kind of lax bro-y too.
Yes.
I just feel like that's what like guys I went to high school with. That's how their hat would
And
sit.
very fratty.
Yeah, it's
vibe,
very
too. It's a
fratty,
very
especially when
frat
it's
vibe.
backwards and it's like a trucker hat, and it's like
Oh,
the opposite
backwards,
way,
where it's up.
and you have to pull like the little strap out of the hat, and then you're full on like frat boy.
No,
Yeah.
No. When I had short hair, people thought I was like very frat-ish.
Oh.
With the hats that I would wear, people were
Yeah.
always like, "Oh, I took you as a different person," and I'm like, "Oh, couldn't think." I mean, I guess thank you. I don't know.
Judgmental, huh?
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Very
That's
judgmental.
right. I should have thrown it back at them. Very judgmental of you, by the way. It couldn't call. I should have thrown it right back at them.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Cheers to the coffee.
Yep.
We made it. We're.
Hold on, this way.
There we go. Yeah. We'll go that
This
way.
is my third one of the day. It just is what it is.
Third
But
You had two it.
I had two at brunch. Now
brunch,
this
I
one has
missed it.
espresso. This one I have to pace myself for. I told you earlier I'm gonna feel creepy. You know what I mean? When you're like getting the creeps from like being over caffeinated, your brain feels like it's being like rewired, and you could feel it like creeping and crawling through your skin.
Yes.
That's why I'm gonna wait till after the podcast, so like the viewers don't think I'm like a huge creeper.
The worst is
You
the
know?
anxiety from coffee because
Yeah,
it's
that's what's
like
about to
you're-
happen,
You're
yeah.
trying to get like going on the day, and then it's the opposite. You have energy, and you're like, I think I should just lay in bed because I'm not sure what I should be doing with this energy right now. And it's like the
It's
opposite.
too
of what-
much.
yeah,
It's
too much.
overstimulating. That's why I've barely drank any of this. I'm like, this is post podcast.
Yeah, keep us going throughout
Yeah,
the day.
like
That
absolutely.
is the only downside with caffeine is like once you have it, it's like you gotta at like 4 hours later, 5 hours later, without that crash, you gotta keep it. You gotta
Mhm.
keep it up. You gotta
Yeah.
keep it up. At least for me, I crash so hard on it.
I don't really, honestly. No.
I'm so jealous. I'm so
No,
jealous
and
of
coffee
that.
doesn't really keep me up either, I feel like.
Interesting.
So that's why I'm like, this is the thing. I drink coffee for the taste. It's
We
not
did
even
say
for
that
like
today. We
the
talked about
yeah,
this
it's not
all
like
the
the
time.
energy. We talked about this earlier. It's not like the energy. It's I
Okay.
like the taste of it. If this had no caffeine in it, it tastes the same, I'd still drink it.
So you can get decaf all the time.
But decaf's light roast. I told you earlier, I'm only dark
didn't know
roast gang.
decaf. I didn't know
Dark
decaf was
roast
light
gang.
roast.
Anyone that's listening, if you ever buy me coffee, do not get me light roast. It will
So,
like hurt my
when
feelings.
People bring Trifecta hot sauce. They should bring you coffee.
Yeah, dark
Dark
roast.
roast coffee.
Yeah, like mud water, like
Mud water.
mud, like thick swamp coffee.
You ever-
That's what I like.
Have you ever had anyone call it bean water?
No,
Someone told me that the other day.
no.
It had me dying. They're like, yeah, cup of bean water. And I'm like, what? And they're like, coffee. And I'm like, I guess. But then it was one of those things
a
where I
new
was
thing.
like, they aren't wrong.
I
But
don't
I've
like the way
never
it
heard it
sounds.
called that.
Yeah, like baked bean water. That's what makes you think about. Like, you know when people say hot dog water?
Okay, baked
Like
bean
baked-
water. It sounds.
Hot dog water, baked bean water. That's what it made me think about.
That's-
I love baked beans, so I'm not hating.
I'm not a baked bean guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That sounds.
Bush's baked beans for
that
life.
sounds-
Hopefully, I can get a sponsorship. I love baked beans, dude. I'm not even playing.
I mean, I respect it, but I'm not a baked bean person. I
fine.
can't relate.
That's fine.
Listen, what's an odd food that you don't like that you would say other people?
Probably like lobster, but I know a lot of people don't like seafood,
Yeah.
but I really do not like lobster. But I would say the biggest one is soda. Like I just don't like it.
That's the best thing in the world, though.
What?
Because you
like
don't like it.
yeah,
No,
oh,
no,
it's
no,
good.
it's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
bad
yeah.
for
It's
you.
good, but like
It's the best thing
like
possible.
when I was a kid, I wasn't really like given soda. We didn't have like a 12-pack in the fridge of soda. I would have it when we would go out to dinner as like a treat. Like I'd get a Sprite. And then like when I was in
Sprite.
college and like
Sprite was your go-to.
Sprite was my go-to drink 100%. No Coca-Cola. I don't like dark drinks. I know that sounds weird
Dark
because I just said I
coffee.
like dark roast,
Yeah.
but like even like when I did drink in college, it's like I didn't drink like dark rum. It would never like sit well with me. But in college, I'd like if I had a mixed drink with like Sprite, I would drink it. I'll have a sip of like a Sprite like every once in a while, but like I don't like soda. So I would say that's the answer.
Soda, yeah, that's a good one.
Soda.
That's a good one. That's a good one. When I think of college drinks, vodka Sprite comes to mind.
That's what I'm saying.
Like the first thing, and I have a buddy.
Or like gin and tonic was a good one too.
Yeah.
I know that's savage of me, but like I love that.
People still drink gin and tonic, so I
used to love it. Yeah.
Like the upper echelon of college, I feel like, unless it's like.
You mean
really
like
cheap.
upper class? Like I was classy for that.
I'm trying to think. I just knew a lot of people that like vodka Sprites.
Yeah.
And so when someone nowadays, if I'm with a buddy and he's like, "I'll take a vodka Sprite," I'm like, "What are we?"
Like that's so
Are we
2012.
18 again?
It's like when people drink Four Loko. That's so 2011.
Yeah. I'm
Put
like,
it down.
you might want to check his ID because I think it's fake.
Yeah.
You ordered
Yeah.
a vodka Sprite,
Yeah.
and we're at a nice restaurant.
A vodka Sprite. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, what's yours though?
Like my go-to now?
A food or like a drink that people would think it was weird that you didn't like it. Like chocolate, for example.
I'm not a big sweets guy, but that's not it. I don't like mashed potatoes.
You did say earlier you don't like potatoes, and I was just like, well, I might not do the
No.
podcast now after I found that out. I love potatoes.
I don't mind. It's such a weird thing. I don't like mashed potatoes. I can eat regular potatoes.
Mashed potatoes.
I can eat French fries.
French fries.
I do not like mashed potatoes.
Oh, that's like the best form.
I could. It's the.
Little potato chips.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Love them.
Okay.
Please give me all day.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Yep.
Little Ruffles every.
Ruffles.
some
I'm with the
sauces.
Cape Cod. Shout out Cape Cod chips.
Cod,
If
make
you
sure
know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Only the
Cape
real
Cod
ones
are
know
good
about
ones.
Cape Cod. Yes.
Yeah. Little sea salt Cape Cod is addicting.
40% less fat.
The weird thing
That's
about
my favorite one.
the potato chip is like I never crave them, but if I have one, I could eat the whole bag.
Yeah, it's because of salt.
It's salt. Yeah,
It's
that
the
makes
salt.
sense.
Well, they taught us that in school about like what is it? I don't want to say it's the mitochondria. Nobody make fun of me, but like the salt like dehydrates your cells. So it's like salt's addicting. It's like sugar. So you keep eating more and more chips and fries. And that's why it makes you thirsty. So you need water to like expand your cells again. I remember that from the 10th grade.
Well, I know
They taught us that.
it is something like that because
It's something like that. Yeah.
I know sodium which is salt.
Yeah. For those who don't know, sodium, another word for sodium is salt.
Okay.
In case anybody didn't
So
know
we're
that.
talking the same thing.
Yeah.
So sorry.
And
I didn't mean
glucose
it
is
like that
the
at
same word for sugar,
all.
just so people know.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it like that. But that was so fun. But I know that salt is very key in hydration. It's
Yeah.
a very key mechanism for
Mhm.
moving water into your cells. So it's weird how so by itself, not good. But then when you mix it with water,
Good.
good.
I love salt. I put salt on everything.
I think.
Did you not see me this morning? My brunch, I put salt all over the entire
No, I
plate.
didn't know. And I was so hungry myself.
I was making it rain.
You're making it rain in salt.
Yeah,
Salt is like
I love salt.
salt used to be like the biggest commodity in the world. Like when people look at like ancient history, right? Ancient wars were fought over salt because it helped preserve food and your diet and everything. Like,
What's
let's
more
be real.
OG than salt?
Yeah. Back in the day, it was like, would you rather have salt and liver or gold? People,
Salt.
I'm going on a limb here. I'm saying salt though.
I love salt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
That's what I'm saying, man.
Well, I want to pivot a little bit and go into talking some DJ and producer stuff here. But I want to know what was kind of like your catalyst for getting started and getting into music. I know you've said you had some jobs within the music industry before, or just in general. I shouldn't say you worked at Sam Ash. Or was
Guitar
it
Center. Shout out Guitar Center.
Shout
Yeah.
out Guitar Center. But what was it that kind of got you into the like, hey, I want to start producing and DJing? I know there's a catalyst for everybody. So what was yours?
So I've always been into music since I was little. So that kind of is what sparked my general passion for music, was just being little. I remember the first music video I ever saw was Without Me by Eminem, and I'm just like, I believe it came out in 1999, maybe 2000.
What did you
So I was like in the second grade, and I just remember like standing in front of the TV, staring at the TV. He's like, have you seen that music video? He's Robin Hood. He's walking up the side of the building with Dr. Dre's Batman. I just remember watching it. Something about Eminem I gravitated towards him so much. And I'm like 7, and I'm like, I just like love this like blonde haired guy. And he was like in a superhero costume. So right then and there, I was like, I fell in love with Eminem. That's like the first artist I ever truly loved and got into, which is funny because I was so little, and it's like hip hop music, and he's like dropping the F-bomb. but that was really what drove my passion for music right away was Eminem. And then as I was in elementary school, I got into other artists like John Mayer, and this was before you could find lyrics on the internet, and you had to just like memorize them by writing them down. So I'd be like in like the 4th grade, just like bumping John Mayer in my room, just like writing down all the lyrics, like memorize like his songs and stuff like that. And then in high school is kind of when I got more into EDM.
Can you remember a time, this is a little off topic, but can you remember
That's
a time when you didn't listen to music? Or do you remember, how about this, better question, do you remember the time you first, like, is there a time where you can pinpoint the first time you listened to a song or something you were like,
Britney Spears. Britney Spears 100%.
This was what, like what age? Like
I think that Baby One More Time, the album and the single came out in 1999, but I could totally be wrong. I would say like 1997 to 1999 is when that album came out, but I'm almost positive it's 1999. That right there, I don't remember what music video it was. It could have been Hit Me Baby One More Time where she's in the red spacesuit.
Yeah.
That also, I remember Britney Spears. I remember my earliest memories literally of like me being like crazy and like unhinged in my house, like breaking stuff, and then like listening to music.
Breaking stuff?
Yeah, just like breaking stuff and like being insane.
You went full Britney before she did.
Yes, I went full Britney before she did, just like being insane in my house when I was like 3. So really Britney Spears and Eminem, which
Britney
is
Spears and Eminem.
yeah,
Okay.
they were really like the first 2 artists that really got me into music. And then in high school, so for those who don't know, I'm 31, so I graduated in 2011. So EDM was like kind of starting to become more of a thing, but it definitely was not mainstream. Like it was super like underground. So when I was in high school, of course, someone showed me Skrillex. Hey, do you know who Skrillex is? And I'm just like, who's Skrillex? I remember when he's just like, no, it's Skrillex. And I started listening to Skrillex and like artists like Kill the Noise, Dylan Francis, Zed's Dead, those types of artists. A little bit of Pretty Lights. That was more towards like senior year. So that's what got me more into the EDM genre, was those classic artists. My first show was Excision. I think it was the X Tour with Liquid Stranger opened for him. It was 2012 at the Palladium in Worcester. But when I first got into EDM, it wasn't really for the music. It was just like, oh, this is fun music to like party to with my friends because my age. So like in college, like we would just like bump that, like Wolfgang Gartner, I don't know if you're familiar, we would bump that type of stuff, Flosterdamus, all that stuff. And it was more like about like, oh, we're having fun partying. But as I got more into the scene and started making more friends within the bass scene that were passionate about both partying and music, that's more when I started to get into it for more of the right reasons. And that's when I first started thinking about producing.
So was there a catalyst or a person or an artist that you saw and that was kind of the point where you were like, hey, now I want to go into this a little bit? Like there was someone that inspired you to get into it?
Totally. And I'll say like my first non-EDM inspiration was Grimes for sure. And I know she's, people have mixed opinions on her now. She's a little bit controversial online, but I love Grimes' music and it's kind of EDM-ish, but I really got into her music when I was in college and I would watch videos of her and how she started to produce and I'd be like, oh, she's produced on GarageBand. I was like, this is pretty interesting. So she started to inspire me to open up the DAW and open up GarageBand and try. And then Nightmare is really who inspired me to make dubstep in particular. Because when I first started to make music, and I think a lot of people are like this, you don't know what you want to make. Right. You just jump around. I made trap music. I made experimental freeform bass, moombahton, trap. I think I already said that, pop music, everything. And then I would just make like down tempo and like random stuff. So Nightmare was really the one that I was like, oh, I want to make dubstep 100%.
Nightmare, we were talking about this earlier, but I gotta bring it up now.
Bring it up.
I think he is one of the most underrated artists in the scene.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah, and I said this again earlier, but I never have had a bad time at a set. I've always had a great time.
Me too.
Anytime, anywhere.
Every time.
Great time. As a matter of fact, I almost like put him on my schedule now, even if I don't intend to. I'm like, I'm going to that set because I know I'm gonna have a good time.
Every time is flawless. It's perfect. His energy. And we were talking about this earlier. I feel like he's criminally underrated amongst the fans. Yes. But people behind the scenes in the industry, artists, and then just professionals in the industry, they hold him to like a high regard. Like they're like, oh, Nightmare is like, he's up there. Yeah. Yeah, but the fans, I feel like some of them don't fully understand like how incredibly talented he is.
I love how him and Shaq have come together.
Oh yeah, DJ Diesel's the shit.
Probably because of the background. Yeah. DJ Diesel. Mosh pit.
I saw DJ Diesel in December in Mission, and it was so lit. It was so lit. He's like, ladies only mosh pit.
I have to agree too. He these sets, whether it's him or I don't know what's going on with it, you know, the
Yeah,
energy with it.
yeah.
But it is always same thing. Always a fun time.
It was
Always
so much fun.
at every festival.
Yeah.
Like and it's funny to see him at Lost Lands, and he's. So I have a funny story, and I've told this before on this podcast, probably in a few others. So sorry for anyone that's heard it, but I remember Lost Lands 2018. Third day, day 3, they like had a bunch of issues. They moved some weather was getting bad. They moved people up, blah blah blah, whatever. We're walking in, and I'm a little under the influence. I'm having a good time, and I'm feeling good. And I'm walking down the hill to Lost Lands. You know.
I know, yeah.
And then I'm at the back, and everyone had to go to the bathroom. And I'm looking at the stage, and I'm liking the music. Wow, who is this? I have no idea who this is. And then all of a sudden, I'm looking, and all I see are guys dunking as the visual. I'm just seeing like
the highlight reel.
The highlight reel. Kobe,
so
Shaq,
funny.
the alley-oops throwing. I'm like, what is going on? And then like the next day, I see or actually, I think I zoomed in on my phone. And I'm like, who is up there? And I see it's Shaq, and I'm like, what is going? I blew my mind. And I don't know if he had been producing before then or no, that was the year he was the special guest. I'm getting ahead of myself.
2018.
2018.
It's really been that long.
Special guest, so no one knew who it was, and then it was like. Who is
Shaq.
this? And it was Shaq. And we're like, what is going on?
Sick.
It was mind blowing.
Yeah.
But no, sorry, I had to go on a tangent with that. But it was just like, but anyways, his sets are very fun, just as Nightmares are always a good show, always a good time. It's something I love that Nightmare did when I first saw him in 2018, and I still think he does it to this day. I haven't seen him recently, so I may be speaking out of turn here. But I loved the way he incorporated rap and pop into his sets and was able to mix it in smoothly with dubstep or trap or anything of that nature. And that was very big in 2017, 2018 when I saw him, and it's been, you know, out of the scene a bit in the past 5 years, I would say, and I'm slowly starting to see it come back.
It's making a comeback for sure.
Is so exciting. And you had some stuff in your set last night.
Oh, hell yeah.
Again, it's super exciting to see because I think that, one, it bridges the gap for people, but two, I mean, for me as someone who likes a lot of different genres of music, yes, EDM is my focus, it's my main thing, but like, I have a few rap artists I like. And if there's a Drake song I know and I can sing along to it, I love that. It gets me hyped. I mean, excited. But I love that he does that, and I love. But to build on that, the fact that it's coming back into the scene is very, very exciting. Like will it flip and stuff of that nature. But do you have a take on with that coming back in? Do you see something I don't see with like how that's coming back into the scenes or reason people are bringing it back? Do you know anything of that nature?
I don't know if there's a particular reason, but kind of what you say, just shout out Wooly, like shout out Crankdat. Because Crankdat makes all those remixes and those flips of like Drake songs and stuff. They're hype. I love Crankdat. But Nightmare's always played that stuff in his set. I love hip hop. I'm not gonna act like I'm a hip hop head that knows all these underground artists. Like I know pretty basic, like surface level artists like Jack Harlow. But for me, I really love to sing. A lot of people don't know that. I don't think I'd ever incorporate that into like my performance. But I love to sing. So I love singing to music. So I want to play songs in my sets that I can sing and that other people can sing too, because everyone likes listening to music, right? Singing.
Yeah. So
for me, I like to play hip hop songs or even it could be like a pop song. I played Birthday Cake by Rihanna last night, stuff like that. But I like to play those songs in my sets because there might be someone there that maybe they don't know who I am. Maybe they don't know, like for example, maybe they didn't know what to expect from Recco. They've never seen Recno last night, which is the show I played. So when they're there, maybe they kind of feel awkward. We've all had a friend, right? We bring to an EDM show that they have no idea what's going on. So they might kind of feel awkward, like maybe they don't fit in. They kind of feel left out because everyone's vibing to these songs they know, and they don't know anything. So they might just kind of be like in the corner, like, I kind of feel awkward. And then they hear like an Eminem song and they're like, oh, I love Eminem. I know, I love this song. So that's like the one moment, if that's their one moment during the set that they felt like included, like related, or rather like relatable to me. That's why I put that stuff in my set, you know?
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. So you're almost, I guess I've never thought about it in that sense because obviously I'm not a producer or DJ at any means right now. But you're curating the set to incorporate all at some point. That way you can draw in fans and whatnot. Is that kind of what you're saying? Like you're just trying to get more.
Yeah, draw fans in and make them feel included and make them feel like they can relate to what's going on and make them feel like they can fit in, basically, yeah.
Yeah, no, so this brings up a question for me with when you're creating a set for a show, are you keeping in mind like I guess a whole variety of things, location, who you're opening for, where you're at, like is that all kind of coming into play of like
Most of the time. But to be fair, I mostly get, if not entirely at this point, I'm booked for only dubstep shows. So I know, okay, I can play any type of dubstep. I can play rhythm, bro step, bass house. I know that they're going to like it no matter what because they fuck with dubstep. But for example, last night I played with Recno. That's not really what Recno DJs, and that's not really what that demographic likes the most. I'm not saying they don't like dubstep. So that's more of why, like last night, I curated my set for Recno because the show wasn't about me. It was about Angel, who I opened for. Shout out Angel, and for Recno. So I played more experimental bass. I played some trap songs, more like to set the vibe and like respect like Recno and like what his performance is gonna be.
And is that what? So, and this again may be dumb of me, but like, is that generally what most producers and DJs up there are doing if they're on the opening two acts? They're kind of like easing you into the headliner in a sense?
I would hope so.
Okay.
But I would hope so, but I'm not going to say, oh, you're not allowed to go up and play. But like say you're opening for John Summit, are you going to like book a rhythm DJ before John Summit?
No, right.
So you should stay true to yourself.
Yeah.
To an extent. But it's also not about you when you're an opener, like a local opener. It's not about you. It's about the headliner. So I do think that you should incorporate some of your style into it, but you also need to consider who you're playing with and what your role is. Like one of my first shows was Bass Ops in Denver. I was the first person on. I played 90 minutes. There was literally nobody in the room. So I'm not going to play like all like super popular mainstream dubstep level 10 energy tracks the whole time. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. So I would hope that any like opening DJs out there that are listening would consider like catering their set a little more to like the headliner.
I definitely phrased that wrong because I do 100% agree that like if a house artist is being booked, generally the two people are house artists before that.
Yeah, you're not gonna book Cole like before John Summit. Yeah.
To that extreme.
Okay.
I totally misworded that, but I do mean in a sense of curating it to the artist. Yeah. So like if you're right, you would never get booked for John Summit, most likely.
No. And if I did, I'm not playing rhythm.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why I think it's like I used to play with Mersive a lot, and Mersive's heavy, you know, but he can also be a little bit lighter with the genres that he's playing. So like for example, when I would play with Mersive, I would play like some experimental bass songs, like some Liquid Stranger type stuff, and some dubstep, not just all like dubstep, just so that way it fits 100%. The vibe more, and you're setting the vibe for the person that's after you, just out of respect. But that's just me.
No, and that was more my question. So yes, that's 100% what I was trying to hit on. I just worded that very badly, but and something that I guess as a fan, I never personally noticed until more recently, and I really only noticed it for a while with Liquid Stranger because he was very good at that, and he's also very good at almost like telling the crowd like, all right, we're gonna. Like,
he does like to talk.
He does like to talk. Yeah. Well, first off, because you can talk as much as he wants. You can have a set where he just talks.
Agreed. Yeah.
But he, I remember specifically like 3 years ago, a time when he was before Excision, and he like stated like, I'm going to start us off slow, and I'm going to ramp it up as I go. That way you were ready for Excision. And I never thought of it until we were talking today about like, oh, he's curating this to like bring us to that next person.
Exactly.
I just never thought that it makes sense now, but in my head I was like, I just heard that and I was like, that's a really good thing. I hope most DJs were doing this. So yes, it's a thing that people do.
Yeah.
I think it's someone I'm outside the scene in that sense, but no, anyways.
Well, there's also shows like, I don't know if you remember the Park and Raves. I don't know if they had those in Florida during COVID. Okay. So for those who are listening who don't know, the Park and Raves were kind of like, they were in 2020 when things opened back up, I believe. 2021 too. It was just, they would basically just outdoor concerts with social distancing. And for example, like I went to the Park and Rave in somewhere in Colorado, I don't remember. And it was a type of lineup where it's not like an Excision curated lineup. It was just random people. It was like Mersive, Blunts and Blondes, Baldy, Adventure Club, like random people. So situations like that, I feel like just be yourself, play your set, because it's not like a curated lineup for the headliner. Yes. It was just random people on a lineup. So that's like a little bit different.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
That's a little different.
Did you like those Park and Rave?
I went to one. I thought it was fun. I thought it was fun.
I thought they were a blast. I almost was like, we could do this again. Like
I would totally do it again. I thought it was fun, and like I feel like it shows, especially dubstep shows, it's so crowded. Yeah. It was actually kind of nice at the Park and Rave to have your own designated space where people aren't like shoving you and like elbowing you in the face.
And you go to you be in your back of your truck or your friend's car. It was honestly cool. Fun. Big old tailgate kind of party vibe. Like it was fun. And now I could picture where it, because of not having to the social distancing part, you could make it like a tailgate rave type of
A tailgate rave,
you
that
know, like
that would be
people got
sick,
their
yeah.
tents and stuff, people throwing
Yeah.
cornhole and
What's
stuff.
funny is like my first show I played was post-COVID, and it was in May 2021 when social distancing was still being enforced. Like the first show I ever played as THRASHA was with Mersive at a venue called the Aggie Theater in Fort Collins, Colorado. And it was social distance 100 people. I think the venue can hold maybe 800 people. And they had 100 people. Everyone had to wear a mask and sit at a table. That was my first show I ever played. Was like a COVID show, yeah.
Those are interesting times.
It was so interesting.
Yeah.
Like people were just like kind of sitting and stuff, and I was like, this is quite like the first show for me to play. It's like a COVID show.
That's so cool though.
Yeah.
So we went to one same type of deal. We went to have you heard of Home Base?
Mhm.
So the year 2021 after they did a social distance, not the normal thing. The normal thing they rent out the whole. They have stages at the pools. They have 2 or 3 stages. But they had one stage at the same hotel. You could buy a room. You could go in, and they had limited spots. Same type of deal. And they had on the ground. They did a really good job for the time. They had. It sounds worse than it. But they did a really good job. They had on the ground. They had taped like a
The tape.
yeah, like
Yeah,
a
the
6 by
6-foot
5 table
tape,
or
yeah.
something. And then they had aisles and people on your left and right, but they were far 6 feet apart. And then people in front of you 6 feet apart, but everyone was just taped in, and they had people with masks and sometimes face shields walking up and down the aisles to make sure you stayed in your box.
I love it.
And the only time you could go out was to go to your bathroom. You had to wear a mask once you were out of the bathroom. But it was kind of interesting, and it was funny. We went as dubstep kids for Bear Grylls, but it was mainly house art. It was so weird. Talk about a weird.
See
night.
what I'm saying?
It was
Yeah.
all house
like
people
random.
before,
Yeah.
and then Bear Grylls, and then another house person. And
So
it was
random.
so funny
Yeah.
too, because I think we were maybe out of like 150 people, we were like 6 of the 10 that were there for the dubstep artists.
That were there for Bear Grylls. yeah.
So we were there like the first couple sets, like having fun, you know.
Doing
and
that.
yeah, just casual. That was when I did not like house.
Yeah.
So it was way.
I know,
different
but
vibe.
we've grown since then.
So we've grown a lot.
We've
a lot.
grown up since then.
But then Bear Grylls comes on, and we are going crazy.
Yeah.
And we're looking around, and we're like, what's everyone saying? It's just us up there.
Yep.
Oh, that was a funny night. They one of the funniest things from that night. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent. They had
Go on a tangent.
these bucket drinks called night crawlers, and I don't even know what was in that. All I know is we were hammered.
Yeah.
Like it was like, and we went back to Home Base this year, and we were like, I wonder if they have the night crawlers, because we were like so pumped,
Yeah.
like guys, this is 2021 again, we're going back. They didn't. Sad story.
Oh, they got
But
rid of it.
they
It
had,
was a
they had
band.
something else. They had something like Electric Punch, and it was just
Cool.
as probably the same thing with like 5 with Monster in it and stuff.
Like 6 monsters, a shot of tequila, a shot of rum, a shot of gin,
yeah, something that should give
an
you a heart
like
attack.
a crushed up Adderall.
Yeah.
like-
might as well.
Yeah, just like all this crazy shit.
Yeah, one of those ones where you come back to your hotel and you're like, oh my god,
Yeah.
what was I doing?
Yeah.
So another thing I want to pivot to, because I'm always curious on the back end of things, how do you go about managing your time for building the THRASHA brand, Instagram, TikTok, social media wise, and then also like working a full-time job and then working in your producing time and all that? How do you go about managing that day to day?
So I'm not the best at it, but I've definitely gotten better. I will say that. I work.
It's like being on an interview. I'm actually really bad at organization, but I've gotten really
Yeah,
better.
I'm really good at organization, but I've had like a lot of different career changes since I've been trying to become a full-time DJ, because it's basically as soon as a job was in my way per se of playing shows and stuff, I would quit and find something else.
And in that, we're circling back. Continue.
Yeah, we'll circle back to that. But when it comes to my time management, so I'm lucky that I work a job that's a set schedule Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Yeah.
So I know that, okay, my schedule's not going to change every 2 weeks. I know I have the weekend off. So the way I like to work on music, some people like to work at night. I'm an early bird. I'll get up at like 7 o'clock in the morning, no lie, because that's kind of my internal alarm. I know this is going to sound, people are going to think I sound crazy right now,
We
okay?
have so much in common today, and then now
This is like
we
the one
are
difference,
diverging.
like between us. But like, I am an early bird. My natural alarm is I wake up at like 6:10 a.m. for work. So I'll wake up sometimes at 7 a.m. on like Saturday, and I'm unable to until like 3 or 4 p.m.
Nice.
So the way I manage production time is it's always on the weekends. It's like Saturday, Sunday. I'll work like 8 to 4, like 10 to 2. It's like a shift for me essentially, but not in a way it's boring. It's fun, but it's always very long sessions. I don't really like going on the computer Like I get home at 6 from work. So I don't really like going on the computer for like an hour because then if I'm really into it, I either stay up too late and I'm tired or I'm irritated because I can't have like a full on session.
I love that.
It's true.
And something we can relate on is the time management. That's why I ask. It's something that's curious for me as a creator and whatnot, that I also struggle with that. And I try to fit it in. I really like what you just said, because I'm like thinking about my time after work. I finish at 5. I maybe go to the gym, and then it's 7 o'clock, and I try to fit in like an hour or two. And half the time I'm either too tired, and then I get mad I don't do it.
So then you feel bad about yourself.
I feel bad about myself.
Yeah.
And it affects me even more. Of like, oh my God, I'm not putting time into it.
Yep.
But I like that a lot, of just being like, I'm gonna wake up early on Saturday and hammer it out for whatever it is, 4 or 5 hours, or shift, whatever. But like, I like that a lot. I might.
Well, a lot of people are like work hard during the week, play on the weekends, but I'm the opposite. The whole week, because I work 8 to 5, I get home at 6. The whole week when I get home, I'm like just chilling. I'm watching reality TV. I'm just like hanging out with like friends and whatnot. Then on the weekend is when I do work. That's when I work on the THRASHA project, is on the weekends. And the other thing is too, something you can think about is sometimes I withhold myself from working on music throughout the week. So then I really like want to work on it during the week, on the weekend. So it might be a Tuesday and I'm like, ooh, I really want to work on like this song really, really bad. And I'm like, nope, you need to wait because you only have like an hour, right? So then by the time it's Saturday, I'm like counting down the minutes. I'm like, boom, whipping open Ableton, and then I work on it for 8 hours and finish it.
I love that.
So I withhold that from myself throughout the week, so then my creativity builds up. Because sometimes if you go every day on the computer,
you burn out.
You're burnt out. Some people don't though. Some people they go on the computer every day and they make a new song, like Subtronics, who's cracked, right? I'm not like that. I'll burn out and it'll make me feel bad about myself that I can't finish something or I can't come up with a good idea. So that's why I've just found that this other schedule is what works for me. That
might work. The
you
way
should try
I'm
it.
like thinking about it in my head right now, I'm like, that might be way better.
Yeah, and then you can't use it. You're
like,
gonna get burnt out, and then
day.
you can't use it as an excuse of like, oh, all I do is work on music, or all I do is make content. I have no time to chill. Well, you got to chill every day after work this week, so you better work on the weekends too.
Yeah.
That's another way to look at it.
Yeah.
That's just how it works for me. I've been doing production and DJing for a long time. I've tried everything. That's what works best for me. So that's how I manage my time. I work on the weekends, and every 2 weeks I have a meeting with my management where we just go over branding stuff, social media stuff. At first, to answer that portion of the question, social media is really hard, and I think that's a really common thing. You probably hear it all the time from people. Is like, I don't know what to post. Yes. I don't know what to post. I don't know what to tweet. I don't know what the caption should be. And it's hard at first, but you just have to be consistent with it, and then you'll just easily just like roll over in bed, post a picture, type a caption, and you just fall asleep. And it's like, does great. Like, you just have to get used to it as part of your routine.
No, 100%. The social media there's a quote, but like the overthinking is what kills it, really.
Overthinking is what kills it on socials.
Just do it.
I look stupid. Is this even funny? People aren't going to like it. People get afraid of the outcome of their content, of what if people aren't engaging with it. You just have to, that's the only way you're going to figure out what's going to work.
Agreed.
You just have to throw stuff out there, see what sticks, and then you kind of learn what your audience is looking for.
100%. Yeah, especially at the beginning stages of just like putting out. Mm-hmm. Like I had a brief period of time where I did see a lot of growth, but I was killing, like I wasn't doing a good schedule. I was killing myself with just like, I'm putting out 3 pieces a day. I was putting three TikToks, 3 TikToks, and I could do it. I did it for like 3 months straight. Great month, had a great 3 months, had great growth, whatever. But then just like tanked after, because I was just like,
you get so burnt out, especially TikTok. Making videos is hard. I give props to people that are like TikTok influencer people. I feel like it's really hard. But TikTok, I also feel like, is the easiest social media to post on. You can post a video of anything, and it gets pushed into algorithm. You get like 1,000 views. I hated TikTok, and I was fighting being on TikTok up until probably 3 months ago. And now I'm like, okay, I totally get why TikTok works for people.
Especially for artists, just with the music functionality of it, it's very key nowadays. And I'm not super well versed on that, so I don't even want to touch it, because I know it's there and it's very apparent, especially for artists up and coming. Because you've seen people from an outside perspective, I've seen people blow up just from having a song that then gets used.
Think about Grizztronics.
Right.
how much more it blew
100%.
Up just from TikTok.
Yeah. If anything, that not that Subtronics wasn't on his way to already being big, but that kept put him in another tier.
Agreed, 100%.
Because he already was big. I remember being like, which was so funny back when that popped off. having your normal friends. I went to a tailgate with my buddies at University of Florida. Went to his house, and I know him. He's not a festival guy. He's not a rave guy. I've tried to bring him. Not a fan. Country, big beard. And I'm at his house, his tailgate. He's on the music.
Yeah.
And like Tronics comes on, and I looked at him, and I'm like, "What are you playing?" He's like, "I love this song." And I'm
I
like,
can't.
"What are you
Yeah.
mean?" And he's like, "I got it from TikTok." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." But
Tronics.
it's a great mechanism for that, and for that alone, absolutely, it's worth it for you to be on. But it is. The video portion is weird, and that's the way everything's going now. The only cool thing about short form now that we did not have in the past years from a social media managing perspective is you can now put out a piece of short form content on now one, but then also put it out on three now. Now that
3 different platforms.
Because YouTube Shorts is, I feel like people don't talk about it enough, but it should be highlighted and it can be used.
Agreed.
They've redid the structures of the copyrights for that somehow. I don't know the legality of it, and I'm not a lawyer, but I know I can put music on stuff now on YouTube, or for shorts only, which is crazy. But that medium of making one piece of content and distributing it to 3 platforms was not there previously, and it is now. And that's a big advantage. And I think people are, not that they weren't doing short content before, but I think they're just now waking up to the idea that they can do it on 3 platforms. Because you got to think before, again, I'm harping on it, but before you had Instagram, you had Facebook, TikTok, or not even really, you had Twitter, and you put out a video on Instagram and it did okay. You really still was pictures. And then Facebook was hit or miss.
Is Facebook,
hit or miss. Yeah, and then Twitter was your thoughts mainly. You could maybe put a picture.
It's like memes and shit posting, basically. It's Twitter,
And then TikTok came around, and then they all adapted to try to compete with TikTok. And actually, I misspoke. You can put one piece of content on 4 platforms because Facebook Reels exists too. So it's just something crazy that it's come up, and it's changing a lot of things. But it's a great medium for like that, especially in a time management sense. I can make one and I can distribute it to 4.
Exactly.
And you don't have to put it all on the same day. You can space them out. Whatever you got to do. That way, it's not like repetitive for people that follow you. But like, and there's people that will argue you shouldn't put out the same thing on every platform. However,
I've heard that, but
if you're,
it's how you go about it.
It's how you go about it. I think too, as an individual, it's way harder to chop up something or make a skit and try to change that skit for 4 platforms. It just doesn't.
Agreed. Yeah.
Time wise, it just doesn't make sense. So if you get a team behind you and they're able to edit it and copy and make new things, yeah, sure. That's like, in my head, I'm like, that's like Gary V level, like down the road type of content creation. Because you can get there if you focus, like on the one thing for a long time and get it going, and then you can start getting people in and building it up. But like, that's a whole another category of topics.
Yeah, well, the other thing is too, I feel like with TikTok, with that being said about TikTok, I feel like before, when you would post videos on YouTube, obviously people don't post really 20-second videos on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Instagram Reels are like a minute, but you could post like a 27 TikTok. I posted a 27-second TikTok 2 days ago, and I got like 2,000 views, like 200 likes, like all this stuff from 27 seconds of just a quick clip.
Yeah.
And when it comes to posting across all platforms, the one thing I wanted to touch on about that is when it comes to those people, and I used to be one of those people too, it's like, oh, it's overwhelming. Oh my God, I have to post on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, I have to post on Instagram. Like, it's a lot and you're overwhelmed. But kind of what you were saying, you can repost the same thing. You just kind of have to go about it a certain way. Like, I'm not going to post something like a show announcement with the same caption, with the same photo on all social media at the exact same time. You could post it with a slightly different, like a shorter caption on Twitter, like an hour later or something like that, and it will do just as well, in my opinion, as the other platforms you posted it on. So you could just recycle content.
Yes.
Really.
Yeah.
It's true.
I've been trying different methods, and what I've found that's been really good for me is I try to post. It's different, obviously, but a little bit different because yours is more. It's just a little different. I don't know how to explain it, but because like I can put out a skit and then what I'll try to do is I put it out on TikTok first, and then
see how it does.
Schedule it. Well, it actually, even if it does bad, I'm gonna, because what's also super weird.
Yeah.
Is sometimes I've had stuff do really good on TikTok. I put it on Instagram,
and it tanks.
And then then I've had some that get 500 views on TikTok, and then they get 100,000 on Instagram.
It's so
that's the other
weird.
thing, is like, you just don't know where the audience it's going to hit. So you should put the same thing out. Yes,
Agreed.
you said change the content, change the change the caption, but you don't know where it's going to hit. And so what I've tried to do now is position it so where my audience doesn't get tired of seeing the same thing over and over. I'll try to do like TikTok, it goes out first, and then my Instagram is like 1.5 to 2 to 3 weeks behind, depending on where I'm at
like
the
that
content.
though. That's smart.
And granted, some stuff is time oriented, right? So if I like just like some stuff for you is a show announcement is a time oriented thing. You have to put that on all 5. For me, it's like if a festival lineup drops, I kind of want to cover that like right away. So even though I don't want to overflood my feed with it on everything, I need to put it on everything. Whether that's like, again, it might be like one day, but like I get it right at the beginning. Because if I wait too long, that's past. It doesn't matter. No one cares in a week from
exactly.
now.
It's irrelevant.
Right.
Yep.
So, but with like skits and all that, I can space them out and have them 2 weeks out. And then sometimes they'll be 3 weeks out because something came up that needs to be up right now. But I've found that works not works, but I like it because in my head, I'm like, okay, if they follow me on TikTok and then they like me and they go to my Instagram, they're not necessarily going to see the same stuff over and over again. They might see something 2 weeks from now, and they might even see it again 2 weeks from now and forget because we're scrolling.
That's the other thing I was going to say is that people forget that people forget.
Yeah.
So you can recycle photos that you posted on Instagram a year ago.
Yeah.
And people aren't going to notice. And if they do, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, that's something that I learned, like, from, like, management. Because I can't take credit for my social media, like, growth at all, honestly. My management really has been, like, the driving force of, like, teaching me. And they definitely don't, shout out to management. They definitely, I mean, like, we don't really know as artists, like, how to pitch ourselves online, how to make content, because it's a newer thing that we, like, have to do.
Yes.
That you didn't have to do before. So you could just recycle like a photo you posted a year ago, because all the followers you get, like if I posted a photo in 2022, I could repost the same photo at the end of 2023 because it's a year later and I have a year's worth of new fans that haven't seen it before. So it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
And the post might honestly do better. I've done that before where I repost the same thing and it gets double the likes, double the engagement, double like the comments.
I totally agree. I've done that for some videos. Yeah. Like maybe a month, not a month. Like you're saying, like 5, 6 months to a year.
But I feel like these are the things that people don't know, though. The tea that we're spilling right now is like people think content's so hard on socials, and I used to be that way. Yeah. But when you know like little tips and tricks like that, it makes it less overwhelming.
That's a thing. Like you said, that's something you don't learn. Like you still learn that right off the bat. I mean, I've been doing content on and off, and I say that sometimes I would take a month off. Like I just get burnt out. I'm like, I gotta take a break. Like I've been doing content though 3 years. But when I started, I had no one. That's another big tip, which is so helpful. I had no one to talk to. I didn't have anyone. I didn't have anyone I was talking to. And so when, now I'm 3 years in and I'm like, the people I'm starting to make connections with that are doing the same thing I'm doing or some form of it, I need to start talking to more because because one, you don't feel alone and you might, sometimes you're like, oh my God, I'm the only person feeling this. And then you talk to someone, they're like, oh yeah, I just went through that. And you're like, oh, I'm not alone. Yeah. And then, immediately you're like, okay, that's a normal thought. And now, now it's in one ear, out the other versus before, if you're by yourself, it's like an echo chamber of just, this is bad. And then the next day it's bad.
Yep.
So, and anyways, and also the fact of just when you're with other people and you're talking to them, they might say a small tip like that you're not thinking of, or they might go, hey, that piece of content you did, really liked it. You might think it's trash. Hey, I really like what you did. Tweak it like a little bit
with this like a minor suggestion.
And you're 100%. Like, okay, I'll try. And you try it and it does good. And they're like, see, dude, that's awesome. Like, or or just the compliment of something does do really good. And they go, hey, I had someone the other day recently say to me, because I just started posting again because I took a month off because I was just just like
the burnout. Yeah,
actually, it wasn't even the burnout. It was, which is an odd thing too, and I'll talk about. But I'll circle back. They just said, hey, I see that you're putting in some more effort recently and your stuff's starting to look really good. Good job. And I was just like,
you needed that recognition.
Like, who are you? I haven't talked, no one said
and
that.
And it's like, how do you know who I am? Yeah. I totally feel that.
It was awesome. And not only that, it's something I realized that I was like, I need to start, the people I want to talk to, we talked about it. The people I want to talk to, I need to start commenting, this is awesome, if I think it's good.
Yeah.
Or just saying, like, I love what you're doing and stuff like that. Like, I need to start commenting or DMing them that because it's going to mean a lot to them. If it meant a lot to me, this was a friend of mine that did it, it's going to mean a heck of a lot to anybody that hears that.
Oh, 100%. And sometimes if we don't get recognition or validation, even if we don't even consciously realize that we're looking for it or we kind of need it to motivate ourselves, those are the types of things that push us. It's like I might have a song that I'm like, oh, this sucks, like it's not that good, and then I show it to my friend and they're like, this is crazy, this is so good, and then it will give me the push I need to like finish it or be like more confident in it.
It's something that I think we can, yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And something I think creators and artists can relate on is the fact that we don't have necessarily a metric to go by, in a sense, if that makes sense. Like, yes, I could go off likes, okay, but that's not really fulfilling. And you could go off plays, that's not really fulfilling. But what I mean is, like, it's not like a business where they're like, we brought in $100,000 this month, and you're like, yes, it's a great month, you know?
Yep.
We don't have that. You could say the numbers. I personally don't pay attention to the metrics. So for me, it's like the feedback from
the engagement. It's
from
what people are saying.
Friends or the audience itself, what they're saying is way more validating for the art than the numbers.
Well, and the longevity of it. Are people like, sometimes people feel like when they release a song or when they release like a TikTok, you put in all this effort, all these hours of work, and you post it, and then people forget about it a day later. So when people bring up something like, hey, if someone comes up to you, hey, I love that TikTok you posted 6 months ago, you're just like, that was a good one. You know, so it's also like the longevity, like when you put out content, like sometimes you put out throwaway posts if you're like, oh fuck, I need to post on Instagram, you'll do like a throwaway post. But I think it's worth the effort to put in effort into your post for the longevity, so people can come back and be like, oh my god, that's like that song by Nightmare from 2016 still hits.
Yes.
It's the longevity in the content that you're posting. That's
100%.
really, 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 really important.
Agreed.
Like we've all rewatched, like I used to love Vine. We've all rewatched like Vine compilations on YouTube, okay? They give it like that. We replay the same songs that we've been listening to for 10 years. It's the same thing with content.
Yeah.
You want to be your content to have longevity, not just like one and done.
Yeah.
People forget about it. Yeah.
No, 100%. That's especially more apparent on like YouTube as well. It's like YouTube.
Totally.
YouTube is so different than the other ones too because of that. Like you can have a video that is, you know, like for my instance, like tips for XYZ. Okay, that festival rolls around every year, so you want that video to be like
every year. It's in this cycle.
God dang video you can make because it's just gonna come like EDC Las Vegas is still happening every year. So if I'm putting out good tips and the video is good and concise, boom. And that's something I've been talking with. I have an editor now that helps me with this and stuff like that because I'm horrible at editing. So I was like, I gotta take something off my plate here. I can't do it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and that's another thing.
It's a group effort.
You want to talk about something too? Is the delegation of different tasks that you're not 100%. Good at. Because I used to think
that's a lot.
It was so funny. There are a few creators that when I first started out, like had me on their podcast and were kind of like helping me out. And I think about them all the time. And I remember for a while, I remember being like, "How are you guys doing this?" And then one of them, I had her on my podcast. We're talking, and she's like, "Yeah, you know, I got the girl that helps out with the podcast." And I remember like I froze. I was like, "Wait, you have some like whatever she was saying?" I was like, "Wait, you have someone helping you?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, there's no way I could do this all on my own."
But a lot of people do
like,
that.
And I'm like, I'm drowning over here. And so eventually it was just like, and of course you kind of have to do that at first because you can't, money wise, whatever it is, it's, and because I think it's valuable to know a little bit of everything going on. And so like for me, editing, tried doing it, can do very minimal stuff and not good, but I can do minimal stuff. And so when I finally was like, I don't want to put in time anymore. It was worth it for me to be like, hey, I'll pay you to do this and help me edit because it's taking me too long to do it. And I don't enjoy it. So
well, yeah, if you don't enjoy it, it feels like a chore.
Right.
It feels like a chore and you're like, yeah.
And then it takes 2, 4, for me.
And that will reflect in your content.
Yeah.
If it feels like a chore,
definitely did.
People will be able to tell. And kind of to
Definitely
piggyback off of what you're saying about getting help, I feel like, and this is very specific to EDM, I feel like it's a group effort, whether that's you have a manager, you have someone that edits your content, you have someone that like takes your photos at shows, you have like a co-producer, whatever it is. I feel like EDM's the only genre that people will hate on that. Like people will hate on it being a group effort. Like, some people in EDM don't make their own songs. That's fine. People don't hate on Cardi B for that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Valid.
People don't hate on Blake Shelton for that. He doesn't write his own songs and people don't care. But for some reason in EDM, there's this stigma that we have to do everything on our own. I need to be a content creator, a DJ, a producer, a comedian, like everything.
Yeah.
It's true though.
No, I
and
agree.
that's what overwhelms up and coming artists and established artists. They feel like they have to do everything by themselves because there's some type of stigma in EDM that we have to do everything on our own. And John Summit actually touched on this recently. I think it was in an interview podcast where he had someone help write chords for his new song. Why is that a big deal?
Yeah.
It's not. We need help. I used to fight help when I first started doing this.
Same.
And ever since I started accepting help with like bringing on a management team, like, hey, can you help me like edit this video? Like I'm not the best at it. My girlfriend helps me with TikTok. I have no idea how to use TikTok. My girlfriend does all of it and she helps me. And look, it's helping grow my brand.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with like a group effort.
No, 100%.
But we feel pressure that we need to do everything on our own, but we don't.
Yeah.
So like when you like, so what you're saying with delegating, all right, I need you to do this. You do photo, you do the editing. I'm going to post this on socials. Then it's like, as a whole, it's going to make the content better, whether it's music or just TikTok, videos, whatever it is. It's all about like the fans. You can give them a better experience.
No, 100%.
It's a group effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's definitely like an arc to it because you got to start on your own and figure out where it is you need to go and where you need to delegate.
And what you need help with.
But
exactly.
yes, because,
exactly.
Yeah. Because
That's what I'm saying. You think Excision does everything on his own?
Oh,
Hell
yeah.
no. You think he runs Lost Lands alone?
No,
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the man's got a huge team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's something it just helps. It's very helpful. Like, and it's so nice to sit after a podcast and know I don't have to do any editing. Because I don't want to do it.
Then you can focus on what you need to, and you don't want to do it.
Right, and I can focus on this part, which is what part I love. The reason I got into it was sitting down with people and talking, get to know them. I love that. I love everything about that. I can focus on that. I can focus on getting guests. That's it. And eventually, I'm going to delegate someone to start getting guests because I don't want to do that either. It's so, like, eventually, you know what I mean? But, like, for now, it's perfect as it is. And that's the other thing is the insight of growing that, like, how to, you are building, whether you, like, think about it or not, you're building a small business. Like, it is
exactly
like a business.
It's a business,
people
for sure.
And you're paying them, and they're helping you, and they're helping them. And it's something I think could be very useful in the scene that isn't talked about enough is if you can, and I'm sure people do it, I just don't feel like it's talked about, but like finding people that you can grow with together has been
yes
ideal.
Yes,
Like,
that you
for
can be on
instance,
parallel like paths or whatever you want to word it.
Yeah, you're on the same page, they're helping you, you're helping them, and it doesn't mean it doesn't mean necessarily like you'll both be at the same place in the long run because they might have a different vision. For instance, I'll use an example to make this point. With my editor, right? We've sat down. He's just getting started. He wants to do his own thing. He doesn't want to work for a company. He wants to just do his own editing. Perfect. I need someone to help with editing. He wants to be out on his own. So he helps me. I pay him. And then as we grow and as I grow, I'll pay him more because I'll be doing more and vice versa. But if he goes, hey, I'm so thankful for what you've done with me. I want to go start shooting cars because I have a passion for cars. He's at least got a following, or my goal with him is absolutely have a following for that, for your own editing, because I want you to grow just as I grow. All boats rise with the water, right? Or what's it?
I don't know. I've never heard that before, but I'll take your word for it.
There's something like that. All boats rise with the tide of water.
I like that. Let's do the tide. I like that.
That's it, guys. Don't look it up. But that is sense of like we're working on one thing. However, I want you to grow as well. And then so if you go do something else, that's perfect. But you're helping me so much, and I'm helping you. And it's just a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
Isn't that the scientific term?
I totally agree with this. I'm glad you brought it up because that's something that I'm really passionate about. There's some promises like I've made to myself when I'm like doing this music thing, and one of them is just helping other people. Yeah. Again, I feel like this is more prolific. I hope that's the right word. Prolific in EDM is you need to help each other. Like I'm putting my hand out, I'm moving up. Like you're coming with me. Think about what DJ Diesel does, aka Shaq. He's helping bring people up. Think about like Subtronics and Boogie T. They came up together, and true. They've kind of gone a different path, right? There's Boogie T Trio, and things like that. But they came up together if you think about it. So I love how you said that because I kind of learned that more when I became more friends with other established artists in Denver. Is like, hey, like let's work on music together, not in sense of collab, but you work on your music, I'll work on my music in the same room. We'll help each other. What you said about the editor. I recently had a really, really fresh new young photographer hit me up to shoot my show in Chicago. I think it was 2 weeks ago. She's like, I'm just like kind of new, trying to build my portfolio. I said, yep, let's go. Like I can help her that way. At some point, you never know. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
I've shot for THRASHA. Maybe that can like help her, or it gives her more for her portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm totally with you about it to a degree. Obviously, you don't want to have like a photographer and editor that has no idea what they're doing, right?
Right.
But you want to be able to help people, and they help you, and then you both grow together, and you might grow in different directions. But who cares? Because you helped.
There was an idea. I feel like the generations before us that are older now, like this idea of like scarcity, where it was like, this is mine, and I can't. I'll never tell how I got 75
It's like
houses in my
gatekeeping,
portfolio.
right?
Yeah, gatekeeping, yeah. And I think our generation is, not that isn't exists still, but I feel like a lot more of the openness of like, I can help you, I can help you, you can help me type of deal, and we can both rise together is way more prevalent.
Especially in EDM.
Yeah,
especially in EDM,
especially with the podcast world, because it's a whole different mantra and like ecosystem compared to like old. I don't want to sound like corporate media and stuff. It's like, this is it. This is the medium. It comes right here. It goes through this. Everyone works for us. We go, and then the news gets pushed out. Whereas like now, this isn't a news podcast, but I mean like now with the internet, we can just put stuff out, and now it's like I'm relying on you as a creator to come on. You're relying on me as a creator to help push this.
Accountability.
And vice versa. If like someone has a podcast, it's like, hey, you come on mine, I come on yours. We help each other. Boom. We each have an episode. And like that just wasn't there in the old way of things, and now with the internet, it's really kind of flourishing more and more. I love something that Joe Rogan says on his podcast is he always wants to bring in comedians. Whether love or hate the guy, whatever, but he does a phenomenal job with bringing in comedians on his podcast at any size. If he likes them, he thinks they're funny, they're gonna come on his podcast, and you know what that does? I mean, they get 100,000 followers like that. It launches their career. So like, love or hate the guy, he loves comedy, and he wants to help those in the scene with comedy, and he does that. And that's like, in my opinion, that's just very admirable, because he could easily be like, no, I'm only having
like really famous people. Yeah, you have to give people a chance.
Yeah, and he has people sometimes. 100%. He has scientists on with no following. Like to him, it doesn't matter. So love or hate the guy, I love that about his show, because it's like he just wants to talk and learn about you because he likes what you're doing. Boom, whatever.
And he puts people on.
Yeah, and he puts people on that are comedians. So either way, I love that, and that's something I strive for, like this show to be, and it's just something I think that's very unique. Again, that mindset of abundance over scarcity. I love that. I think that's.
I'm in agreement. Yeah, 100%. Like I said, I think it's super important that you just help people in the sense of like, oh, if we're both DJs, like cool. If I have a show and I get to pick who plays with me, like I'm picking you. Yeah. But in a way of like, yeah, you can just help each other. And I have like a few like pretty good dubstep friends that were on parallel paths. Like we're kind of like the same level in the sense of like bookings, streams, popularity, things like that, where we make songs together. We do collab posts on Instagram together to just like help each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Create that system and all work together to.
Yeah. I feel like it's like my duty, and I've heard like other DJs and artists, not just in EDM, say this. It's my duty that once I'm big enough, I need to like help other people get to that level.
Yeah.
And that's why I brought up DJ Diesel. I feel like he is honestly the perfect example for that. Yeah. Perfect example. Because for some of his shows, he plays first. And he lets everyone else play after him so they can get the big crowds. Nobody else does that.
Yeah.
Nobody. Maybe a couple times, but like nobody consistently does that besides him.
I didn't know he did that first. That's awesome. No,
yeah.
I did not know
He did that on, I don't remember what the tour name was. I think it was a year or two ago. It might have just been like Shack Space All-Stars Tour or something like that, I think. But he was the opener and everyone else got to play after him.
That's sick.
It's really sweet. Yeah.
Something we put a pin in, and I really want to circle back to. We talked about, you mentioned something about having jobs, and if a job took into too much time of your producing, that it
gets kicked to the curb. Yeah.
So I guess my question with that is I feel the same way. Have you ever had jobs where you start to, where you're at like your job and you're just like so like, I just don't want to do that. I want to go home and work on my other stuff. Like, you know what I mean?
But
like,
I do want to go home.
Yeah, to work on the other stuff, of course.
Oh, obviously.
Well,
yes. When DJing and production was more of a hobby for me, I would say not really, because it wasn't like I was super, super passionate and into it for like more career reasons. It was more of a hobby, right? Yeah. But when I worked at Guitar Center for 2 years, shout out Guitar Center once again. It was so fun. And the reason why I worked in food service before that, just because it was very flexible with, I used to be a festival kid. I'm an OG raver. I've been listening to EDM since 2010. So it used to be very accommodating to me taking off time to go to festivals. That's all I cared about. I didn't care about making music and stuff at that point. But when I started to kind of be more interested in taking that route, I started working at Guitar Center because I was like, okay, I need and I want to be surrounded by music 24 hours a day so I can learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm constantly talking about music and learning about it from people and have those resources, and I'm around musicians. So working at Guitar Center was the first time I had ever been around other musicians ever. Because when I first started DJing in Michigan, I didn't have any like other DJ friends. So Guitar Center worked out really well for a certain amount of time because for those reasons, they helped pay for me to go like music production school. I was able to get cheap equipment, things like that. So I felt like that job never got in my way. They would always grant me time off and stuff. Then after that, I had like a couple other jobs that, like I said, once they got in the way, whether it was they deny a request off to go to a festival or I'm playing a show and they say no, I would just find another job and quit.
Gotcha.
Because I'm just the type of person, to a degree, I'll do whatever it takes within reason without hurting other people is what I'm trying to say. To do this. So I had an old job, I'm not going to name what it was, but I had an old job that I quit in December that at first they were so lenient about time off for my shows. I told them right off the bat when they hired me, hey, I play shows in the weekend. Oh, no problem, no problem. Then after a certain amount of time, it was no, you're not getting time off for that. Like I would get written up for taking off time to play shows. And when I would get a show booking, instead of being like stoked, I'd immediately be so stressed out of like, oh my God, I have to ask my boss for like a Friday off, and I have to tell like my music managers, I don't know if I'm going to get work off. And then if I call out, I'm going to get in trouble. Like it was just way too much. And I was so miserable at my job. I'd come home and I wouldn't want to work in music, obviously, because I was miserable.
Yes.
So
I had one of those too.
yeah, and I feel like a lot of people deal with that, even if they're not an artist, just everyday people that are in a career that they're passionate about and they hate that specific like company or whatever.
Yeah.
So it started to negatively affect my production, whether that's literally making music or just being productive within my brand. I would just want to come home and do nothing because I was so miserable. So I quit. And I love my new job now, but just anytime anything's ever been detrimental or like hindering like my progress and growth, you're out. Whether that's a relationship, a friendship, peace, you're out of here. Because I've worked way too hard to get where I am and I have a lot farther to go. And I can't have anything standing in my way again within reason.
Yeah, of course.
No, you know, especially a stupid job that's not going to be my career.
Yeah.
Because DJing is going to be my career. So that's the way I look at it.
No, I love that.
So that's why I was just like, fuck it. And I quit. And it was the best decision I ever made for myself, was like quitting my old job.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I was always thinking there's times where I felt like I was sitting at my job and I'm like only thinking about like, I just want to be like making content right now instead. Like,
of course.
And it's just like, but at the same time, everyone's got their own way of doing things too. And I know at times for me, I'm like now my job now, I can be able to work from home,
which is great.
It's just fantastic.
So great.
And it allows me a little more flexible because I can remote work, and at least for travel in the States, it's super easy. But previously I had like 3 days in the office. Like I like, truth be told, like with the stuff I want to do out of work, I do not think a 9 to 5 would be ideal because most of the time a 9 to 5 in office would not be ideal because they want me to be there, and on like Thursday or Friday they're not going to let me go out and leave because I have to go in the office to work. Whereas now it's like, as long as I fly after work, so I just have to look for flights after 5 p.m.
Right,
no biggie.
Exactly.
So look for a flight at night, and then I wake up, say in Colorado, and I just have to be on for work at 2 hours earlier than maybe normal. So I like it. 8 o'clock here is 6 o'clock there. So I just gotta wake up early. I gotta make on for work, but I'm good. I'm there. I can go make content and go to the show. I just want to be able to do that without the job. And I had a job previously, and I'm with you 100%. I remember the job sucked, and it didn't affect things at first, right? Because at first you're like, whatever.
It doesn't at first. It's overtime.
Yeah, and you're like, and of course, I mean, again, I've talked about this actually before. Having a plan. Once I realized, wow, this is not it. This is not what I thought it was. Having a plan to get out is crucial.
Agreed.
And as you've experienced it more, you definitely become aware of it quicker, and you're aware of the situation. Like, oh, I gotta get out of here quick. But like, I know my first time it happened, I remember being like, oh shit, I don't like this. And then you're like, and you start to overthink like everything. And I remember for like a month, I didn't know what I was gonna do. And finally, I was like, I just need to start planning to get out of here. Like that's it. I just need to figure it out.
And most people don't. They just stay. And they settle, and they're miserable. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Sorry, what I was getting at is how it affected everything else.
Yeah,
I'd
100%.
come home, I wasn't motivated to do anything else extra, which is like, that kills everything, kills the content, all that, which there was no motivation. I started noticing I was spending money, like dumb money, on things. Just like I'm not someone to go shopping
And like splurge, yeah.
and I was like, oh, I'll go to the mall and buy a new jacket or something, and like, and like dumb shit like that. And
You were masking the pain with some retail
there's
therapy.
some retail therapy,
Yeah,
which is not normally me.
it's okay.
But it's funny. Anyways, but yeah, looking back, I'm like, oh, I'm glad I got out of there. We're coming up here on the hour or so mark of the podcast, so I want to wrap things up so I don't take too much of your day here. But one final question for you, and it's a deep one, and it's a long one.
It's very deep.
It's
Go
a
ahead.
very deep one. But I ask all the guests this, the theme of the podcast. So how do you live yourself for every day?
Every day, how do I live for myself? I'm somebody, I feel like I stay true to myself. I feel authentic, and I'm always, at the end of the day, going to do what I want 99% of the time for what's best for me and those around me. Music, dubstep, production, DJing, video games. I'm just someone, I really want to have fun. So no matter what I'm doing, as long as I'm having fun, that's all that matters, and I feel like I'm living my best life. Like, I could be on the couch watching Dance Moms and like having the time of my life, like peak life experience. So as long as I'm having fun with whatever I'm doing, I think that's how I live for myself, is making sure that I'm having fun and I'm having a good experience. And if I'm with other people, that they're doing the same.
And that kind of comes back into play. Yeah, no, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And so we could sum it up as in having fun and doing the things that you like to do for having fun with.
Yeah, it's really that simple. I feel like a lot of people do things they don't want to do because they're afraid to say no, or they're afraid to put themselves first, but I'm the opposite of that.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, when it comes to responsibilities, like paying a car payment, right? You have to do it.
Right.
I'm not referring to stuff like that. Yeah, like I'm not referring to stuff like that, but it's like, I just like having fun. I've always been like that, though. I've always been like a thrill seeker. I've always been wanting to have fun. Anybody that knows me, anyone that's watching this, they're gonna be like, yep, that's Cheyenne. Like, I just want to have a blast. I could literally be at Walmart, like, just like having like the time of my life, like in the freaking condiment aisle. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I like to make everything fun.
Yeah.
And that's
that
what
interprets as to probably why you wanted to be a producer and create a fun experience for all.
Yeah, because I'm having fun.
What did I tell you earlier today? I said it's a very open-ended question, but like for the first half of this podcast, you've been answering it this whole time. Like, I would say everything
which
back
I like
there
that.
is you telling us like, I want to have fun, and I also want to do these things. If I'm going to do something, I want to do it because I want to do it and I want to have fun. You just said that too, like right here. It's just, I love how it's a very full circle. And I'm sorry if guests are probably annoyed that I just mentioned that, but listeners are probably annoyed that I just said that, but it is something that I never noticed until 2 episodes ago. I've done 100 of these. Yeah. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, we're answering it already. Like, I should just tell people like it's so like relaxing in that sense. But you don't realize it, and then you put it into words and you're like,
so like it's like mind blowing. You're like, whoa. I think living your life for yourself every day is being yourself. I know that sounds cliche, but it's true. A lot of people aren't true to themselves. No, like, I'm true to myself. I'm on the computer, I'm making dubstep, I'm playing shows, I'm just like doing my thing, just like being true to myself. And I think that's really, really important, is to be authentic.
I totally agree. And well, that's the thing too, is the authenticity is,
it's huge.
I think a lot of people struggle with that. And that's why, again, another reason why I had the podcast and this question is because I think we all have everyone's got their own way of doing things, just as everyone's their own unique person. That's why it's like everyone can kind of like, someone might hear this podcast and hear what you just said and hear something I said and be like, I like that and I also like that. So there's somewhere in the middle where I can meet at the intersection of those two, and that's me. I just found out something I didn't know about myself. But no, like it's just all of it. Anyways, I forgot what I was gonna say. I got really off track. I got really excited. But
no, I like the excitement.
The having fun with everything is, I don't disagree. I've started to kind of view that myself. It's like, if I'm not good, if I want to go do something, why would I go and not enjoy it to the fullest extent? You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like if you're gonna go to the DMV, you better make it fun. You know what I mean? If I'm going to the doctor, I better make that shit fun, because otherwise I'm gonna be miserable. You know what I mean? So I try and find just like the fun, the positivity, and like the bright side of things. I'm more of like an optimistic person.
So summing up is finding the fun in the little things in life.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you're not having fun, you're not going to want to do something. So like, for example, if you're making a TikTok and you're not having fun, then you're not going to want to do it. Yeah. So, and that's something that I feel like I've heard a million times. That's probably what I've heard the most doing DJing and making this into my career, is like, are you having fun? Make sure that you're having fun. That's all that matters. Because if you're not having fun, like, I want you to, like, I've had a manager in the past tell me that, like, are you having fun? Like, for example, making this song, or it's not really fun for you. Because if it's not fun for you, I don't want you to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
No,
and I feel like that's like how people lose themselves too. And I'm gonna bring up Avicii for like half a second.
No, go
that
for it.
there was obviously a point, you know, anyone that's listening that knows about Avicii's story, where he was not having fun anymore. He was having fun producing, but not playing the shows. And in the end, like, it did him in. Like, he didn't want to do a lot of the things that he was being forced to do, and he wasn't having fun. So he was miserable and he was depressed because he wasn't true to himself,
Right.
which wasn't his fault, but it's just the truth. And he wasn't having fun anymore. You know?
No, 100%. Yeah, I think of going back to kind of what we said with like even looking at the world as fun in like the delegation aspect. If I'm not having fun editing, it's gonna affect all of this. So
Exactly.
get rid of it and let me just have fun producing content, producing music, putting out a podcast. I can have fun doing that. I love like exactly that. It's just like with any little thing. I personally, this is also good for me because I haven't thought about it in that sense. Like with every little thing, there's something fun that you can find in it. Wedding, whatever, like just all the stuff you just said, and I'm sorry I'm repeating it but it is so true, and it's something it just kind of blew my mind when you said find the fun in little things.
It's true. If you're in the back of a police car, you just got arrested, it's like, well, at least like there's like some flashing lights that are kind of cool.
A cool story.
Like, this is kind of fun. Like, I'm riding in a cop car. I've never done that before. You know what I mean? That might be kind of toxic to think like that, but I just feel like whatever.
No, I love that way of thinking. Like I said, I haven't thought of it like for I mean, I do these podcasts because I hope someone takes away something. I think I just took away something.
Good.
Like that little bit of fun. I'm gonna start looking at that now. I'm like, am I having fun going to this thing?
Because if you're not having fun, trust me when I tell you, people are going to notice. Like,
oh yeah.
If you're a house DJ and you hate dubstep and you're on stage playing dubstep, every single person in the entire room is going to know that you're not having fun.
Yeah, people
can feel it, they can see it on your face, and that goes back to the content thing you're talking about. If you're not having fun doing content, it's so obvious to people.
Like if you go to a dinner, you don't want to go.
Yeah,
you're like,
it's so obvious.
What's wrong with you? You're like, oh, nothing. And you're in your head, you're like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be at this dinner. I don't want to be next. I don't want to be sitting next to you.
Yeah, and that's why everything we're talking about, it's true with the last question. It all ties in. So with delegation, you're able to let someone else edit so that person's having fun and you're having fun recording, if that's like what your preference is. So then that's not bringing you down, because there's definitely been times in music in the beginning of my career where I did things I didn't want to do, that I was kind of being forced into or pressured into, that weren't fun. And I would just be sitting there just being like, fuck, like, I don't want to do this. This is stupid. I don't like this. This isn't even something that it's me, that like I want to do at all. And it just makes you miserable, and then it kind of sucks your soul out a little bit.
No, 100%.
100%. That's not what this is about.
It goes back to those jobs that we hated because if they weren't fun, you're not having fun, you would go home and be like, this is just a horrible day.
Yeah, delegating the things that are not fun to you to someone that really does enjoy it is just going to better yourself and help you grow. I mean, there's things within my project, I'm not going to say they're not fun, but they're things that are more enjoyable for some people that I work with, whether that's like a manager, photo. They're the ones that are doing it. They want to do it, so they're enjoying it, and then it takes it off my plate, and I don't feel bad about it because they genuinely want to do it.
Right.
Like, if I need help with like editing a video or something, and I have a friend or like one of my managers that they really genuinely enjoy TikTok and making videos, I don't really like doing that. I just am not really a TikTok person. Cool, you can do it. Have fun. And they're like having a blast, being like, making your TikTok. Look at this cool edit, you know?
Like, make it so to really sum it up, it's like find the thing in whatever it is. Find the thing that brings you the joy and fun and use it, because for like we said, there's always some circumstances where we have to do things
and that's totally fine,
but there's a way for you to find that little tidbit of fun within that big thing that you don't like. For instance, the job I hate that job, hated it, but I had fun with my coworkers.
See,
and that could be
it's always the coworkers that keep you.
The thing, right. Well, and not even you don't want coworkers that you're all bashing the job and talking negative.
I've been there, been there too.
But also that creates a more
toxic.
But I mean, like in general, like my last job, we did talk bad about the job. Yep. However, when we hung out, we didn't always talk about the job. We also had a lot of fun, and we laughed and giggled. That was where I should have been like, you know what, I'm going to work to have fun with those people today.
At least work's fun,
job. But like, but that's how you should start viewing it and finding that little thing, especially in things you don't want to do. I gotta go to dinner with my aunt and uncle or whatever. If you're
like, well, it'll be fun. They have free breadsticks.
Right, and like, then you get those breadsticks, and you're like,
you're like, oh, it's fun. They're gonna pay for it.
Yeah. Find the little fun in things.
I'm telling you, man. That's it.
I love that. That's a
mantra. That's the key to all of it. Yeah.
I love that, and I'm glad we ended on that because that really spoke with me on things I need to start looking at a little bit more. The same thing because like it's like again we've been doing it probably and not realizing it, and then you something clicks and you're like, I gotta start doing that more, or just start being more aware of it and recognizing it.
Self-awareness is huge.
Self-awareness is huge.
I'm a big supporter of self-awareness.
It's funny because it's so key to your personal development. I don't mean your as in you. I just mean in anyone's life. It's their personal development of how they figure out themselves. But I always feel like everybody, myself included, puts that on the back burner. It's like we don't, especially with things we don't like. It's like, let's put that away. I don't want to deal with that. And the reality is, if you deal with it right then and there and figure it out and work through it, your self-awareness, one, gets better because you go, I don't like that. Yep. Versus like pushing it away and now you're lost because your body's telling you no, you pushed it away and you're like, now I'm confused, we're doing it still, you know, or it's subconsciously. But it's just very key to work on that, and it's something you have to put in the time for. And it's just weird to have me how we all push it off for some reason for certain things
because we don't like it and we don't want to be around things we don't like. But like you said,
the reality is it's a growth tool.
It's a growth tool. You'll just do it, and it's just better to get over with. Like, I'm just that type of person. I just want to get stuff over with. It's like, oh God, like, I have to, like, file my taxes. I'm doing it right now. Like, I'm not putting that shit off. It's happening now, and then it's over, and I can go back to having fun.
I love that.
You know?
Doing my taxes. Yeah. Self-awareness and find fun in the little things.
Yeah, and accountability and teamwork. Those are the life lessons we learned today. Teamwork is huge too.
Teamwork is huge.
I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now without a team, neither would you. And we're being a team right now.
Yeah.
You know, we can't just be like a one-man band. And people who do that, I give them total props. But I think those people are very, very, very rare. I can't think of one person right now. Do you think Sudden Death works alone?
No.
That's what I'm saying. I can't think of one person that's a one-man band doing what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
It's just not how it works.
Yeah. You've got me thinking. It's a good note to end the
We're
podcast.
gonna have part 2 of the podcast after dark later.
We definitely
just
will.
Off,
We definitely
off the
will have
record.
to.
It's gonna be thrash off the record. Yeah.
Cheyenne, Thrasha, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I had an amazing time with this podcast. I think we did way longer than we even expected.
Probably.
But tell people where they can follow you. We'll make sure to put it in the link and stuff in the bio of the podcast as well. But just tell people where to follow you.
I have the easiest tag ever. It's thrashabass. Instagram, TikTok, X, aka Twitter. It's all thrashabass. Spotify, Reddit. You just type in Thrasha and then it comes up. So That's how people can find me on the internet.
Awesome. Well,
just type Thrasha onto Google.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much once again for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I had a great time. Bye, everybody. Peace.